Hi, I'm Brett Hansen, creator and director of Hansen Education Services. If you find this podcast helpful, please subscribe, tell other everyday AI users, and consider writing a short review. Thanks. Today, we're exploring a fundamental shift in how we think about technology in the classroom. Specifically, I want to break down the insights shared in a recent article titled, "Google's Head of Learning Says AI Can't Solve Education's Real Problems," written by Dan Fitzpatrick and published in Forbes. The piece features Ben Gomes, Google's chief technologist for learning and sustainability. Gomes isn't just a corporate executive. He spent over 2 decades building Google Search. He understands how we find information, but now his focus is on how we actually learn it. The story begins with a memory of chalk dust. Gomes' mother was a geography teacher in India, but an allergy to that dust cut her career short. She taught her children at home instead, planting a seed of curiosity that lasted 50 years. This detail matters because it frames the entire conversation. We often think of AI as a replacement for the human element, a digital tutor that never gets tired. But Gomes argues that the most important thing in education is something no algorithm can replicate. The problem isn't the how, it's the why. We are currently in a race. AI companies are building automated tutors and personalized engines at a staggering pace. But Gomes points to a disarmingly simple reality: motivation. Technology can improve the mechanics of learning. It can summarize a text, correct your grammar, or explain a complex math problem in 5 different ways. But the reason you want to learn in the first place, the drive to wake up and engage with the world, is a very human thing. He notes that high-achieving individuals are rarely unlocked by a book or a piece of software. They are unlocked by a person, a teacher, who made them feel like they mattered. Once a student feels they matter, they can run forward. In this framework, AI is not the ignition, it is an accelerator. Gomes brings a unique perspective to this because of his history. He worked on spelling correction in the early days of Google Search alongside Noam Shazir, one of the minds behind the transformer architecture that powers every major AI model we use today. For decades, the core problem of search was language. Gomes admits he didn't think AI would solve the problem of language in his lifetime. He expected maybe 40 more years of trying. But the breakthrough happened. We have unlocked language, which means we can now propagate information from one generation to the next with unprecedented speed. However, language is just a carrier. It carries knowledge, but it cannot carry desire or inspiration. AI can transmit information with extraordinary fluency, but it cannot transmit the reason why a student should care about that information. This is where we have to be careful. We are entering an era of the Renaissance learner. For a long time, education moved toward hyper-specialization. You became a narrow expert in a narrow field, but AI is reversing that. Think about the way we work now. A web engineer can use AI to handle design. A designer can use AI to write code. A teacher like me can use AI in order to teach, but also to create an app to record and track that teaching. The mechanics, the syntax, and the literal doing of the task have become extremely automated. What remains is the conceptual understanding. How do you break a project into modules? How do you think about levels of abstraction? Gomes argues that our education system must evolve to teach these higher level concepts. We are moving away from the how-to and toward the what and why. But this shift only works for people who are already moving. A student with no interest in learning doesn't magically become a Renaissance learner because the tools got better. The tools amplify the direction. They don't provide it. This leads us to what Gomes calls the 5% problem. It is a question of equity. The gap that matters most in the coming years may not be who has the fastest internet or the newest device. It may be access to the people who create the desire to use those tools. If AI-powered learning remains expensive or is only adopted by elite schools, the benefits will concentrate at the top. Even if the tools are free, they remain useless if no human being in a student's life has inspired them to pick them up, to want to use them. Google's response to this has been a mix of infrastructure and training. They have pushed Chromebooks as accessible devices and invested $150 million in AI education grants. But Gomes is honest. These are government-led questions of infrastructure. Where a company like Google can actually move the needle is in supporting the teachers. We have to look at the reality of the profession. There is a projected worldwide shortage of 45 million teachers. People enter teaching to shape lives, but they often leave because of burnout, administrative burdens, and the sheer weight of the mechanics. A 6-month pilot program in Northern Ireland's Education Authority showed that teachers using Google AI tools saved an average of 10 hours per week. I save an enormous number of hours per week using Google's tools. That isn't just an efficiency stat. For Gomes, this is a survival story for the profession. If we can give a teacher 10 hours back, they can stop working late at night. They can reclaim their weekends. Most importantly, they can use that time for the one thing AI cannot do, building the relationships that make students want to learn. When teachers own the tools and make them their own, the interaction with students becomes more personal. Gomes shares a powerful example of this from a session at Google's Mountain View campus. They hosted 56 U.S. State Teachers of the Year and let them experiment with vibe coding, using AI to build software without needing to know how to code. The results weren't just neat, they were transformative. Special education teachers built apps that allowed students with significant disabilities to create music using only their blink reflex. That's pretty cool. This software didn't exist before. No product team at a major tech company was building it. The teachers saw a specific need for a specific child they cared about, and they used AI to bridge the gap. The motivation didn't come from the algorithm. The motivation came from the teacher's commitment to their student. The AI was simply the tool that made that commitment actionable. There's a growing divide right now. On one side, you have teachers who are building their own agents and software in their spare time, often feeling isolated because their colleagues don't get it. On the other side, you have the risk of technology becoming a burden rather than a relief. Gomes sees these communities of practice, the teachers at the leading edge, as the key to bringing everyone else along. We have to face the fear that AI will lead to more attrition, that time saved will just be filled with more administrative work. But if Gomes is right, the goal of AI in education is to protect the human element. His mother couldn't stay in teaching because of the physical barrier of chalk dust. Today's teachers are leaving because of the mental and emotional barriers of burnout. The technology can remove the barriers. It can translate languages. It can summarize curricula, and it can help a teacher build a custom app for a child who can only communicate through a blink. But it cannot make that child feel like they matter. That remains teachers' jobs. All the tools in the world must work through that primary relationship, the human spark that makes someone want to learn. That is where great teachers come in. That is where the real work happens. For more information on how we are navigating these changes in AI education, please visit Hanson Education Services and AI for Everyone. Thanks.